Morning, everybody. I'm John White from South Carolina DOT. All right, who all was at the 2007-2006 meeting we had in North Carolina and Asheville? All right, this is the meeting that I met Dennis. And Dennis and I had some good conversations a few months afterwards, actually a few years afterwards, got him to send me a copy of a presentation he does annually on his equipment when he used to work for Arizona. And that started us doing an annual report. It introduced me to a very simple concept, red, yellow, green. All right, and you're going to see that in here. You can see how successful it is because it made it into another version of a report that's in here. But this whole presentation is about improving our message, because each of us has a message to tell. Each of us is saying, we have a problem, we need money, we have problems, the fleet is getting older, the costs are going up, but the problem is nothing is changing. All right? The downtime, the risk of crews getting out there with equipment and equipment not working, that's real. It's lost productivity. You know, how come things aren't working? How come we're not getting any changes? Is it lack of priority? Truthfully, that probably is an issue. When you have $100 million and you have bridges to be worked on, roads to be worked on, facilities to be worked on, and equipment to be replaced, where do you spend that $100 million? How do you divide it up? Asking people around the country, how do we prioritize across those 4 different asset streams, especially when they serve different types of customers? The first 2 is all the external, the equipment is all the internal, and facilities is the internal and external customers. How do we prioritize the money? The only answer I get is, well, we take care of bridges first, then roads, and we choose a number for equipment, we choose a number for facilities. I'm going to show you some excerpts from the annual equipment report we put out. And what I want to do is compare this to what our agencies just released. We presented our first TAMP, the Transportation Asset Management Plan, to our commission last week. Kevin did a great job. When the commissioners saw that presentation, their jaws dropped open, the way he did the presentation. The concept of this presentation is maybe we need to change the way we're presenting our information similar to the way they're doing in the TAMP. If you haven't seen the TAMP in your state, take a look at it and maybe you can get some ideas from that. So our fleet is growing. We break it up into 8 different categories. It's been growing across the board, primarily with the traffic control equipment. Here's our snow removal back here. There's about, 1,000 units statewide. The fleet's getting older every year. The amount of green is getting less and less. This is by district. We've had 15 million, then 17 million, 11 million. This past year was 18 million, 21 million coming up. The amount of green is getting less and less. Okay, it's consistently, we're getting worse and worse. I think this is a good story. I think it's pretty clear. By category type, overall right at 50% of the fleet needs to be replaced. That's horrible. You know, that's about 140 some odd million right there out of 350 million. We're spending about $25 million a year to repair it. There's about 8%, that's about 8% down at any one time. Well, average of 7% across the whole year. What we pitch is we want to take that 25 million, let's drop it down to 12.5 just by doing PMs and maybe half the repairs. And let's take that 12.5 million and put it into equipment replacement. Renew the fleet. We don't have to have as much technician expertise, not as much tools. The message isn't getting through. We break it down into the district level to get it more personal down to the districts. And I'll tell you this, the districts get it. They see it because why? They're closer to the operation. They're the ones who feel this pain. Breaking it down a little even more per district, we break it into construction, maintenance, and engineering. Tell them what they have, what everything looks like, their costs. This is District 1, $3.5 million. Again, same graphs. Does everybody do an annual report for your state? Okay, I see some yeses and some no's. It helped. I think that's what got us from the original number, whatever it was, 11 million to 21 million now. It has helped us. But here's an example of the TAMP, and I'll say I'm not as good as Kevin at giving his TAMP presentation, so I'm not going to give his presentation, but I'm going to show you his slides. He started off with educating everybody what this document is. If you don't know, the TAMP is required by the Federal Highway Administration. Every DOT transportation agency has to have a TAMP. Question is, are you going to use the TAMP, or are you actually going to structure your operations and make decisions based on the TAMP? That's not a requirement, as far as I know, but you have to have a TAMP. It focuses exactly on what we do, preservation. Let's see, so that would be preventive maintenance and that would be repairs. Rebuilds is what the roads are doing right now. They chose percent VMT. What would be the equivalent on the equipment side? Is that percent hours used in the field by the crews? Is it percent utilization? You need to decide on what that means for y'all. They are forecasting everything out on a 10-year horizon to show the impact of what the decisions today is going to do, looking 10 years forward in the future. I'll admit, in my report, we don't have that. That's missing. Right. Why? We were doing models and we were looking at every single year in the future projecting. It's too hard to do. I'm going to show you a solution they did, and it looks pretty good. Clearly define what the priorities are going to be. Now, this presentation, the funding that I'm going to show you from this is before our legislature gave us another $200 million per year, 10 years coming. All right, $200 million, that's 15% of the need that we need. That's the challenge from the upper management to the legislature next year. We need the other 85%. So these numbers are going to be based on about a $350 million budget for maintenance. They start off with showing the big picture, where the national highway system is. Red, yellow, green, you see that? It made it from Arizona to the equipment to the TAMP. You can see what's good and what's bad. And this is what they did. They showed it on the map. All right. This is where the guys and ladies started saying, wait a second, that's my district. The only way for me to get from, here's Hilton Head. Hilton Head all the way back to Columbia. That looks like the red, yellow, black snake. What's that one called? Coral snake. He said, it looks like a coral snake. What we're working on the equipment side with USC, the research project they're doing for us, perhaps in each county, in each one of these lines here is a county. Maybe we can do a little pie chart and show a red, yellow, green pie chart in a county that shows the overall distribution and age of the fleet in each county. And we can also narrow it down to show just backhoes or just dump trucks or just whatevers. That's the concept. All right, we're getting even more, another category, roads. Roads are pretty bad. The entire system from the National Highway System, primary system. All right, worse. Charleston's here, Myrtle Beach, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, and then Beaufort is down here. Secondary system, it was so bad that he could not put a map together. He says it's just red, the whole thing. All right. But the point of the presentation is this resonated with the upper management. This resonated with the politicians. Now, the equipment one's not. Now, the politicians, the commissioners don't, the equipment is too much in the weeds for the upper level commissioners. They don't necessarily get to see it. But maybe we can change our equipment presentation to be something that they want to see. Maybe the next year's TAMP is going to be, the front part's going to be the equipment, the roads and bridges, then the next part will be the equipment. Funding. I started off, here's historical funding, where we are now. Projected funding in the future, showing continued deterioration of the road system. This is using projected funding going forward. Shows the impact. Where we were talking about doing individual slow progression, red, yellow, green, they took the easy way. It works. Never thought of that. Okay, it shows the story. It says unless we get money, we're able to hold the green here. Look how much worse we're getting. And unless we change, it's all going downhill. Okay? Bridges aren't any better. 8,000, what is it, 8,000 bridges? Yeah, 8,000 bridges in the state. About 10%, 9% are structurally deficient, as well as another 800 bridges, obsolete. Of course, bridges in generally are kept in better condition. Why? Because you can't drive over the water without them. Same thing on the funding, same approach. Once everybody understood the road side, you could easily understand the bridge side. So once you understand the roads and the bridges, now in the future you're going to be able to understand the equipment side too. Putting it all together, showing the total future budget. It's all going to have to be redone to figure out where to spend this $200 million. And then this was their final slide. And they received approval of the TAMP and to continue forward. And we'll see about this right here. We'll see whether or not they actually do use it. All right. Any questions? Thank you very much.